In the heart of the Zambales Mountains, where the winds carried the scent of earth and the songs of unseen birds, lived Maestro Lando, an Aeta teacher whose heart beat only for one mission: to teach the forgotten children of his people. Each day, Lando would rise before the first light, walking barefoot through rivers that kissed his knees and hiking trails so steep they tore his sandals apart. Sometimes he walked 5 kilometers, sometimes 15. It didn't matter. What mattered was reaching the clearing where a rickety blackboard stood nailed to a sheet of corrugated iron. The schoolhouse the village had built with scrap, hope, and bare hands. Still, Lando taught. He taught with the same energy he would have used for a crowded classroom. Letters, numbers, stories of distant lands and the dreams beyond their mountains. He knew that even if he could only reach one child, that child could become the seed of change. When typhoons came and ripped apart their fragile school, Lando rebuilt it with his own hands. When soldiers warned him about insurgents in the mountains and told him it was too dangerous, he simply smiled and said,
If I die teaching, then I die living.
But fate was kind. One day, while crossing a flooded river to bring new books, Lando slipped and was swept away by the current. The village mourned him, believing he had been taken by the river. But after days of searching, they found him clinging to a tree branch downstream, shivering but alive, the book still tied to his back. When he returned to the school, Banoy ran to him, clutching his hand tightly. The children cheered and wept. From that day on, more children came, inspired by Lando's unbreakable spirit. Word spread to nearby villages. Old men donated wood. Mothers cooked food for the students. Young men built stronger benches. And Maestro Lando taught, not just reading and writing, but perseverance, hope, and the unshakable belief that even the smallest candle could light up the darkest night. He grew old in that little clearing, still barefoot, still smiling, surrounded by a generation that could read, write, dream, and build, because he never gave up. Years passed, and the tiny school that once barely stood on trembling legs grew stronger, like the children it sheltered. The benches, once just pieces of driftwood nailed together, were replaced with sturdy desks built by the hands of former students. Children who had once sat barefoot and hungry, now carpenters, farmers, midwives, teachers. Banoy, the first boy who waited alone for Lando on the very first day, grew into a fine young man. With Lando's guidance, he became the village's first university graduate, carrying in his heart every lesson written not only on paper, but carved into his soul. When Banoy returned to the village, he did not come alone. He brought books, medicine, seeds for farming, and most of all, the promise that Maestro Lando's dream would never die. One morning, Banoy stood beside the old blackboard where Lando had once drawn crooked letters under the hot sun. With his voice trembling, he announced,
We will build a real school here, with walls that will not fall with the rain and roofs that will shelter dreams.
And those matters behave with each other in certain ways.
The people wept. They wept for the years of hunger, the years of struggle, and the miracle that somehow, through one man's stubborn heart, had turned into a garden of hope. They named the school Paaralang Maestro Lando, Maestro Lando's school, in honor of the man who never asked for anything but gave everything. Lando, now an old man with silver hair and hands calloused by years of writing on broken blackboards, stood silently as the villagers unveiled a small statue of him, holding a book in one hand and reaching out to the sky with the other. Tears rolled down his face, not out of pride, but gratitude, because he lived long enough to see his people's wings unfurl. When asked what kept him going, Lando simply smiled and said,
I planted seeds even when the soil was dry. Even when the storms came, I knew someday someone would bloom.
And they did. In every corner of the village, children laughed, learned, and dreamed aloud. Fearless, limitless, and free. Because once a barefoot teacher chose to walk through the rain, cross rivers, and risk everything. Not for riches or fame, but for the quiet, unstoppable belief that every child deserves a chance to change the world.